In this section, I want to show you what to do when you come up with an idea for a test to improve your conversion rate on your website. There are many different ways that you can implement a test version of your site to compare in that A/B format that we spoke about earlier. I'm going to show you two quick and easy ways to do it. One is a little bit more lengthy and involves more coding than the other, but these are two different methods depending on what your preference is and depending on what your resources are. The first one I want to show you is how to implement an A/B test through Google Analytics. The Analytics section will show you how to navigate and how to find your way around the inside of an analytics account, so don't worry about it too much for now. But what you need to know is that we're here within the behavior section on the left-hand side, and you can see the experiments option down below that. Within this, we're just going to go create experiment, and we have the option to set up our details here. The first thing to keep in mind is that this option with Google Analytics means that you're going to have to create a website variation fully in terms of a new page compared to the old one and have it hosted online on your domain before you can actually run this experiment and have Google Analytics handle all the trafficking for you. That of course means that if you have an idea to perhaps change a button, or maybe it's to change a layout or something like that, you're going to have to develop that page fully or get your webmaster to develop that page in full, host it online, and then compare the two pages running the traffic through Google Analytics. It's the running and splitting of the traffic and measuring of the two variations that Google Analytics does for you, but it is a little bit lengthy in terms of actually fully developing and fully coding that variation page that you want to test. Nonetheless, let's run through this process so I can show you it, but I want to spend a bit more time on the second option in this section. So what we have to do here is enter in the name of our experiment. We call that experiment 1. We want to choose our metric we're testing. So if this was conversion rate on a purchase, for example, and we had set up that as a goal within our GA account, you would see that here. But let's go with page views first, just for the purpose of illustration. Percentage of traffic to experiment with. This is where Google Analytics gives us the option to be able to split the traffic and show our variation or our test page to only a small percentage. So let's say we just wanted 10% of people who came to our site to see that experiment page. Well, then we select 10% for that. And then we go down to next step. So this is where we have our two pages. So this is where you'll put in your first page, your original that you want to test. And you'll see you'll get the example loading on the right hand side. Don't worry too much about this. For me, of course, it's just example.com, so there won't be much to show there. And then your variation. This is where you're going to put in the web address of that complete new page that you've created that you want to test against the original. So for us, that might be example.com/test. That's the way you would host it on your domain. You wouldn't necessarily have that extension visible to people who come to your site ordinarily, because you don't want people to stumble across this. You just want this to be hidden in the background and allow Google Analytics to drive traffic to it. Once we've done that, we go to next step. And here we get the option to manually insert our code or send to Webmaster. We've seen how those options play out before when we're in AdWords. And for example, if we want to manually insert the code, this is what Google Analytics gives us. This is the splitter code that we then put on our original page. So this is an important variation here. So we're going to have our two pages live. Of course, our original site will have our Google Analytics tracking code on it. I'll show you that later. Don't worry about it for now. And we want our new page to also have Google Analytics tracking. But this script needs to be placed on your original page. And it's this script, this bit of code, is going to dictate how traffic is split. So when someone comes to your website, they might be in that 10% of users who are going to see this new variation, and this code will send them to that variation, and it'll measure what they do, of course, and it'll show you the results of whatever interactions they have on that page, and will show you the conversion rate on that page if it is in fact a sale or something that we're ultimately measuring. So once you have that code implemented on your site, you would click next step and you'd be ready to go. And this test would be live, and you start to see data accruing within this same tab underneath behavior and experiments. As you can see, that's quite a detailed kind of setup process. Not only do we have to develop our page in full, but we have to go through a few different steps to do it. Running experiments through Google Analytics is a very, very good option if you're already using analytics and you're already familiar with it. It allows you to have all your data in one place, of course, and if you're used to the interface, it's a nice way to be able to go in and check a page that is fully developed, something that you took a bit of time to invest in. Perhaps it's a change that is something you've worked on for a bit longer. So you're happy then to put in that additional effort to take the time to develop it and then to set it up. So it's a good option. It's the first of two that I want to show you here, but I want to move on to that second one now. So here we are within the interface of that product that's going to allow us that second option, and that is Unbounce. Unbounce is a solution to allow people to create landing pages without coding work that you can then publish, drive traffic through, and then on towards your site. The best way I can illustrate how this works is just by running through a quick example with you so you can see how easy it is to set this up and start running a test for your website. So once you create your Unbounce account, you'll log in and you'll see the option to create new page in the top left hand corner. Once you click that, you'll be brought through to this location where you start by creating a template or using a template as the basis for your test and your page. There's a huge amount of variety in here, from ebooks to e-commerce sites to email lead gen type websites, and have a browse through them and see which one is most closely aligned with your business or closest aligned to your goal, the thing that you want to actually test. For the purpose of this one, let's scroll down and let's take something that's a little bit closer to a purchase in a traditional sense. So we'll try and find one that is e-commerce related. So here we go. We've got something where it's a service sign up. You can see the template here with a description at the top, a bit more information, then you have your purchase options below. So let's start with that template. So here we are within the editor of this particular page, and what you can see is that you can simply click on any of these details and change them yourself without having to code. And once you save those changes, you can then preview it on the right hand side, and you'll see that that change is then actually in place. We changed that example text there, and that's as easy as it is to actually edit these templates and use them for your website. So as well as being able to edit the existing features of this particular page, such as inserting an image here to appear on the left hand side, you can also add things in very easily, such as buttons or forms or the like. So let's add one of those in just so I can show you how simple it is. So if we wanted to perhaps add a button in here, and we can change the text of that over on the right hand side. And for example, let's call that shop now. Now that button is ready to go, and if someone was to click on it, we can define where they actually go. So on the right hand side again, you see that there's click action and a URL bar. So if we wanted them to then come to our website, all we have to do is enter in our address there, and that page, that click on that button will then direct that user to that particular part of our site where we'd like them to go. When you see examples like that, you start to understand how Unbounce differs from perhaps running a Google Analytics experiment. In this case, we can take a template page, we can change the elements of it to our liking visually or whatever information we'd like to put in there, and then we can simply direct the traffic to our URL, either through a new button that we add or an existing button, just like we've done in this particular example. The really useful thing about Unbounce is that not only can we create these buttons and these links to drive people to our pre-existing website pages as they currently are, but when we create them, we can also define them as goals. So at the top right hand side here under the goals tab, you'll see that that link that I've just put in under that button that we've created is available to use as a goal. All you have to do is tick that, and then Unbounce will now track that in the interface in terms of how many people click on that button and show you the data for it. So now all of a sudden we've created a new website or new web page that's going to be hosted by Unbounce. We're going to be able to drive traffic to this page, and then we're going to be able to see very, very quickly how effective was it at driving people deeper into our site, the place that we link to, through the buttons or whatever else we've added in. And of course, just like the rest of the elements on the page, those buttons and anything else that you add in are fully customizable. So if we want, for example, we can change the color scheme of it, we can move it around without any coding work whatsoever, and it will appear just like that once we've saved the changes and we go back into our preview. And there we are. Do excuse the weird layout that I've put in place here. Obviously, this isn't meant to be aesthetically pleasing in any way. I'm just showing you what is possible with Unbounce. So let's go back into our editor. And as I said, you can change all of this text to add your own value propositions. All of these icons are fully customizable just through a quick upload. You can put in your pricing plans and tweak all of your value adds or your benefit pitches, for example. And it really is that simple. That's all you need to do with Unbounce. It's just click and drag, simple text editors, upload images, and so on. So I won't go through all the features here. As you can see, it's very simple to change elements of a page to your liking, and you get those options in those templates to start off with one that's closely aligned to your goals anyway. But I mentioned that Unbounce does give us data in terms of interactions with our pages. So if we go back out to the Unbounce main homepage, this is where you'll see the list of any of your pages that are live after you've published them, and you can start to see the data accruing in those pages. So we'll take one here that I've made previously, and you can see on the top line, it shows you how many visitors you get over a couple of days, the number of conversions you get and the conversion rate, and all of those details down below. The great thing is that it shows here as first variant, this being our first page that we've created in this form, and it's got a nice A/B test center that we can use to quickly create a variation of that page if we want to then move forward from that initial creation and start to test different elements, such as that button we created if we used a different color, if we placed it in a different location, if we used different call to action text, and so on. And all we have to do to create a variation of that page is go over on the right hand side here and click Add Variant. These are really powerful features to be able to put in place a few variations on a site very, very quickly and get all of the data given to us in an easy to read format, and then we can make our decisions and move on from there. One of the key strengths of Unbounce is that if you have a new idea for a page, or in fact a new idea for a business, it's a very, very quick way to be able to put a page out there, to put a test in place. And once we start to refine that and we have an idea of what works, we could then go and have that page coded by our webmaster and then run further experiments through Google Analytics where you have that page created in full. So you can see how this is perhaps a better option starting off when you're in the early days of testing and you just want to get a few ideas out there and start to understand how traffic performance may fluctuate or vary just with some slight changes that you can make in a very easy way. So that's Unbounce, really useful tool. The best thing you can do is get in and start playing around with the interface. As you've seen, there's a huge amount of features in here for you to take advantage of. It's my go-to product for testing for any kind of an A/B test, and I think it should be yours too.